your human rights, because your freedoms from many angles, have been restricted, and your association has been restricted, your activities have been limited, and your practices have been in a way cribbed, capped, and confined. You have become an isolated human being in your to use that Shakespearean expression. You have been cribbed, capped, and confined to your home only. That is the greatest violation of human rights, according to me.
Yes. But again, let's hope that we're all able to survive and come out of this healthy and move on to better, healthier living, which is what we all are,
Yeah, I always, Sanjana, though it is embarrassing for me to speak to you, to intervene like this, after 8:30 I have to go for another Zoom. I'm so sorry, that's my earlier commitment.
Yes.
So I will only say, we all look forward to a better tomorrow. If we want to see a better tomorrow, we have to be better citizens for tomorrow. So let's all try ourselves to become better citizens for tomorrow. And from the Indian context, if you ask me, how do you become an Indian citizen, a better citizen? You have to just take care of 3 C's. 1, get rid of your casteism, get rid of your communalism, get rid of corruption.
Wow. So well put. I think this will go down with everybody. We are so thankful that you took your time and joined us, and we look forward to having more of you, and God bless you. Love and light, stay bright, and we look forward to having you again. Thank you.
God bless you all. God bless you. I'm so sorry, Mr. Fisher, Mr. Jadadja, Mr. Deepak, John, and all participants, my students and my gurus. I'm so sorry, only on account of that the poem, the woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep. I'm so sorry. Thank you. God bless you. Stay healthy. Stay blessed. And stay safe. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you, sir, for joining. Thank you, Your Honor.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you. We appreciate it. We appreciate very much.
Yes, I'm so glad that we all learned and got to see a different perspective, that too with so much wealth that is being added to us in our knowledge. And yes, the light that you're shining on all these students, it really means a lot. But I have a very nice comment from Asif Hussain, who's thanking that after this webinar, he says this has become a new source of knowledge. So thank you, Asif, for a fantastic comment. We all appreciate you guys watching and sending your inspirational comments. And there's one from Ayush. He wants to ask, when everybody's thinking about winning and nobody's talking about failing, I want to ask, what do you do when we have to do with failure in something? I think, Nidaji, I want you to say, because you're the one who deals with students the most. What do you think? What is the best way to deal with failure?
Thank you very much, Dr. Sanjana, for giving me opportunity to share my thoughts. See, this is all relative part. In my viewpoint, failure or success is a continuous process. There are certain times you find out a solution for a particular issue or a problem, and sometimes you find a challenge. So that mindset has to be built. And primarily when we have been talking so diversified issue regarding COVID-19 and the challenges being faced, and with the Honorable Mr. Justice Corian Joseph's viewpoint regarding the humanitarian and the human touch, it is very much imperative that students per se, not from Chandigarh University, across the globe have been understanding and getting a formal kind of learning from the challenges being faced by each one on this earth, and the solutions which are being coming forward to handle the situation. Maybe executive, maybe judiciary, maybe economic reasons have been there. So there is as such nothing like that failure or success is there. And since it is a complex issue and various perspectives are there, as you rightly said from the very beginning, that the various perspectives are there, they are being handled, and everybody, I think, with the intellectual mindset is understanding out of it that the situation is being handled from different angles. Maybe the US, maybe developing countries or developed country, they have been handling it. So I would certainly say the students also are getting mindset and conditioning of their mind that they will be handling in their life also, although it has been highly disappointing to come across this kind of state of COVID-19 where morbidity has been so high across the globe. But again, I would say conviction has to be there. There is always a light behind the darkness. and the life has to carry on happily, smilingly, handling the situation from the core of the heart, and above all, as rightly said, that we have to be good men and good human beings. That's what I would definitely say.
Yes, this too shall pass, and Bhagwan ki ghar mein der hai, ander nahi. And
Yes.
we're all going through with faith, with a lot of conviction. And I think, thankfully, there are some good things that we are all learning during this time. And what we want to do is make sure that going forward, we are able to do better as human beings. I think that's the main lesson that we're all learning. And quickly, I want to get back to Jadeja ji. Jadeja ji, in London now, the situation is a lot better. Are the Indians out there still having a lot of issues? Are you still having to reach out to help a lot of them out there? What is your perspective right now as far as Indians go, the non-residents out there and the students there? Is there still a lot of trouble as far as the students go out there?
I think that, to be very frankly speaking, is very pleased to say that London spike is over. So the COVID-19 point of view, last 3 to 4 days, there is a zero death in 21 NHS trusts. So we are very much pleased to hear that. There is no such a student any problem anymore, because most of them is repatriated and things there. Here in the UK, 94 to 96% people follow the law of the land. So that helps the controlling the virus. Currently, the biggest problem is Anjanadi, which is we probably should have the touchdown it is mental distress by the lot of family. And currently, so far, average is 100 people are getting arrested for the mental distress and domestic violence. And these are the things which we have to look at it. There is one more point we missed out there. Probably, you touched upon, the jail things, but I don't know whether you're aware about it. In the United Kingdom, about nearly half of the elderly people who living in a care home, they were more affected. And I'm not sure how care home, the facilities in India there, but in United Kingdom, many over 60, over 70 plus people are living in the care home there. They had the PPE product, the problem and all that. So the majority people are died due to the not being taken care very well, whether it's a government or not. And in my mind, these are the things which we have to look into that. But now, post-COVID, I think mental distress is remained there. I think we should think about it, how to come out with it. COVID-19, we learned so many things. To be personally, my point of view, I have worked more hours during the COVID-19 than before. Every day, I pick up the phone, look at it, and that help. Look, there is always the space to learn from others.
Yeah.
So we have a challenge there. Challenge to learn, not to give up. In my life, failure is not a failure. Failure is a learning something different. Whereby, because of your failure, you are opening up the good news for the others. And that note, I would think is time is there for the adult education is necessary now. For the technology wise, India now the rural area are the more using the Wi-Fi than in the urban area. So that's why, and I'm glad to say that what the mind the inspiration, which is you did not ask the question, but I have got a 92 years old my mother. And she was my inspiration, because every morning for last 45 years in this country, I'm actually throwing my age out there, but every day first I speak to my mother, and she guides me always there, inspiration there, and we must not forget our parents, those who have given us the birth there, and if you have a trust on them, they have a trust on you. And on that note, I would like to say, COVID-19 has give us a lot of opportunity to learn and be united. That we should not be afraid about COVID-19 there. In the past, one of the things which we never learned about it is the cleanliness there. and the COVID-19 has taught us that, look, doesn't matter what you do, if you remain, all the time follow the, the law of the land and the cleanliness there. There is a light at the end of the tunnel.
At the end of the tunnel. So what we are learning, especially under this duress and stress, is one, cleanliness is so important, especially in a country like India, where people used to, not be clean. As we all know, they took, advantage of the situation. But now I think there'll be far more strict rules and regulations which will be implemented if people do spit or are not clean. And secondly, what I loved about what you said, the fact the elders in our family, our parents, our grandparents, whoever is living, this is a time to really, especially the students, because you kind of forget, you overlook the fact that they are the ones who need you. They were there when you needed them, but now this is a time that you can be there for them, love them, care, and spend time with them. This is a special time that you get to spend and cherish the time. This is really special and very important for you to realize that. And let me quickly take Deepak Prakashni. There's a question for you from Yash Barshar. My question for the advocate, Supreme Court, Deepak Ji, I want to know, during online proceedings of courts, there is a chance of big law firms and lawyers to take over the system. How do you see this?
There is a complaint is coming like that, but this is not completely true. The lawyers who have the facility, they are doing it. The lawyers who have no facility, there is totally a problem is there. But we are checking the cost list of the Supreme Court. All types of lawyers come, but lot of individual lawyers also filing and appearing in matters, several matters. Definitely, always in our profession, big law firms are always having a edge ahead. Always it's there. But it's not completely true that only the biggest law firms are getting. But the main issue we are facing, getting a listing of the matters. So earlier, we could have been gone and mentioned the matter in front of the judges. Till today, our Advocate and Record Association is, every day we are filing the representation for getting that. Till today, it is not come out with a proper solution. There is
there is a little, I think, break in the connection out there.
A lot of problems are there. Whenever a new system is launching,
sure, there are breaks in the system and we have to overcome.
Continuing that, definitely.
I want to quickly take Bart Fisher. There are a lot of students who want to know what is your advice to a budding lawyer, for especially the budding lawyers. What is the best advice that you would give them?
Well, first of all, I think it's a great profession. It's an honorable profession. And the advice, I gave some advice before, which is I'm a believer in intellectual property law and joint degrees. In other words, you really are entering an era that's very specialized. Knowledge is very specialized. So, for example, I set up the program between Stanford Law School and Johns Hopkins, where you get your MA and your JD in 4 years, joint degree. And what you learn is that the best students are the students who know that they need to know more. You need more knowledge. You need more specialization. You have to always be looking around the corner. What's the next new thing? Is it space law? Is it health law? Now we're seeing is it pandemic law? So you want to be widely read in a lot of different areas and try to see what's coming down the road, what's coming down the pike as the next new thing. In fact, when I started working on trade law, there were like 5 lawyers in Washington, D.C. doing it. Now there's 500 or 5,000. So, but I thought trade would be big, and it did become big. So now you've seen health law, and I have very good colleagues and friends who are in the healthcare. That's going to be a huge area going forward, where you have to balance privacy concerns, as we mentioned before, legal concerns, and it's very complex. And the U.S. healthcare system is extremely complex. Medicare, Medicaid, payments, how do people pay for these things. You know, the sad thing about this whole crisis is that it's revealed that the people who do the most for us physically, like teachers, firemen, policemen, they are at the lower end of the pay scale. So to me, income inequality is the premier issue of our times, both in India and the United States. It seems unfair that the healthcare workers who have protected us during the COVID-19 pandemic are not well paid at all compared to someone who makes money as a venture capitalist. And so I think the advice I would give is just try to be well-read, see what's going to be the next new thing, and try to get ahead of the crowd and be the one, because there always has to be a reason. Why would anyone call you? There has to be a reason. And the reason probably is that you know more than anybody else about that field, right? So that's the key, is to be in an area where there's demand, called law, supply, and demand. And now, obviously, healthcare law is going to be huge. And but there are other areas, mainly with intellectual property, that are going to be huge. You're talking artificial intelligence, you're talking 5G, you're talking software. So it's the primary driver of economic growth will be technology. So you want to be very, very proficient in those areas.
Yeah, I think it's important for the students to know, especially from people who are in the field and so experienced, what is the best way forward. And again, implementing. Hearing is great, but you got to implement that. And the more you learn, specialization, I think that's something which a lot of them should be adhering to, specialization in whichever field. We have a lot of compliments from the students. They are really enjoying, and they thank you, Nisha, Jangara, Mandeep. There are so many students who have been complimenting all of you for the knowledge that you're imparting. Also, they are enjoying the session. So O.P. Middaji, they're thanking you for putting the session together. And there is a question which is interesting, which I think O.P. Middaji can answer. This is from Nitish again, who says, which mode of education is fruitful, online or offline? I mean, means classroom or online, which is better?
See, it is true that with the technology, because the last 2-3 decades have been innovative and IT industry have been growing, various channels have come up for use of technology. Maybe in the developing country it has been coming off late. But we have all realized the utility of the technology. So online has its own benefits. But as you rightly said, Guru, the balance between the interpersonal, in-person discussion beside the technology usage, a blend of the two will be of more use to that. And I think our Chandigarh University, as Mr. Kang has already said and shared our experience, yes, we are technology savvy, and we are trying that the students get accustomed to the online classes, and the faculty has already uploaded the material for teaching online. And once this lockdown is over, and definitely the physical presence will be there, and students can take benefit of the faculty in person also.
Well, I'm waiting, because I always wanted to become a lawyer, but then I can come and intern with you and do some, laws over the world together. So hopefully, I think this will help, because my concern was always that I don't have the time to go to school and be in school. But if the online classes, and once in a while, yes, I can make an appearance, then I can definitely, I could, right, possibly become a lawyer and join forces and hopefully help people, because the whole point is how can we reach out and help using the knowledge we have. And on that note, we also have Mandeep Kaur, who's again been enjoying and participating very actively. She asks, do you think there is a need of amendments in laws related to health law and rights after such a pandemic that has shocked the whole world? I'd like Deepak ji, because you're here, and then I would like Bart also to come up with what you feel about it. But Deepak ji, could you please answer that for Mandeep Kaur?
Can you please repeat the question once again?
Do you think there is a need of amendment in the laws related to health law and the rights after such a pandemic that has shocked the whole world?
Yeah, definitely, my answer is always new laws are required. But existing law in India or in whichever the country we are having, they have their own law. How to apply that law? And we are a land of laws and laws and laws. And if the senior professors, Dr. Mita also, we are asking how many laws in the same sector we having, we cannot answer that. So law and lockdown, we are discussing how many laws are there. We have a Disaster Management Act, we have Epidemic Act, we have CPC, we have lot of other laws are there, police acts are there, lot of things are there. There is no dearth of law is not available. But how to implement that? Definitely, when a new issue is coming, there will be a development, there will be some change, some amendment will be there. And the question is already come, whether this pandemic is a human-created pandemic or a natural one. Even human-created pandemic, Mr. Purin Joseph is already answered. It had to be treated in a different manner. We have International Court of Justice. The people who are affected, for example, China, they are the authors, or they are the originators of this pandemic. They have some human rights, but China, we know the situation. But other country, they can claim their compensation in a different manner. Mr. Brad Fisher will be the best person to answer that side also. How law is happening in the US, otherwise in London also. Definitely, it's a human created. So I prepared my subject. You can know the force majeure. Not if it's a force majeure or not. The major force is whether or not. That's an important question. If it's a force majeure, liability is different. It's not a force majeure. Liability is otherwise. It's a lot of difference are there. If we are starting from Justice Austin onwards, there's different parts of law is ordered. It is how it is happened. It is a human creation. It is different. It's a human creation. We have otherwise.
Depends on how human creation, it varies, right? I mean, depending on the origin of what it is. But Mr. Bart Fisher, what do you feel about this? Do the laws need to be changed post-COVID? What is the room for change after COVID?
Great question. And as far as the U.S. is concerned, it's very clear that the law needs to be reformed. We have seen the failure of the federal system to react to the pandemic. We have 4% of the world's population in the U.S. and over 30% of the deaths. That's got to tell you something. And there's clearly a need for legal reform. You know, in India, you have two very good statutes, the Disaster Management Act and the Epidemic Diseases Act. You have two statutes that have worked very well in India, allowing Modi and his Home Secretary to impose the lockdown. In the U.S., we really haven't had that authority at the presidential level to do that, as I mentioned before. So it's a real problem in the U.S. with the current. So clearly there's a need for legal reform in the United States in the healthcare area with regard to pandemics. And after the dust settles on this thing, we really need to address the issue of legal reform. However, the law, Oliver Wendell Holmes once said, the life of the law is not logic, it is experience. And what our experience here has taught us, that leadership is as important as the law. And the leadership in the U.S. on this issue, unfortunately, has been inconsistent. And I could give a lot of examples, but we don't have time. The point is that even in areas where President Trump has had the authority, the Defense Production Act, for example, he has not used it. He could order testing being done at a national, federal level, and he hasn't done that. And so really, there are some statutes that we need. There are some statutes that we have that haven't been properly used. So it turns out to be an extremely complex question, but in equal measure, it's not just law, it's leadership.
Sure.
And I really appreciate, in India, you have had this tremendous leadership from Prime Minister Modi. He acted swiftly, decisively. He had a good legal framework in which to do it. Although it was a little murky in some areas, they were obviously thinking of earthquakes and typhoons, and they put into this area pandemics. That's fine. It served the purpose. So the bottom line is, it's not just the law, but there's no doubt in the U.S. we need legal reform. We need to take a serious look at the federal system and give the president the power to act on intrastate. In other words, don't just turn it all over to the governors. You have 50 governors doing different things. That's not a good system.
It's not unified. And again, considering that the whole world is grasping and trying to find answers, I think we're all living, learning, and, we're trying to evolve as we go in the best way possible. And on that, I'm going to take the last question because we're almost at the end of our session. This is from Vivek Sharma. Even though we have a lot more, I have to tell you, Midaji, your students have been so active in participating with questions, and a lot of them have been brilliant. A lot of the questions that they have asked are very relevant, and actually, I think it's very enjoyable to see such active participation. So I have to thank you especially for getting your students involved in the session. And on that, Vivek Sharma's question is, this pandemic has created many objects in cross-border relationship amongst countries. So what is the scope with regards to international law past COVID for a budding lawyer? I think, Bart, you would be the best one to answer this. What do you feel?
Well, I think we need international cooperation, as was mentioned before. We need a new legal framework. And this gets you into a much bigger issue, of course, globalization. The virus doesn't know the boundaries or the borders, right? It doesn't know if it's in Pakistan or India. So obviously, it's an area that cries out for international cooperation. So what has the U.S. done? Trump has pulled us out of the World Health Organization, just at the time when we need the World Health Organization. So we really should be going down the path of international cooperation. There's no doubt about it. It's going to be a whole new area of international law, in my opinion. And by the way, in the U.S., so many events have been canceled because of the legal doctrine of force majeure. In force majeure, you're allowed to say there was an act of God that prevented me from carrying out this contract. And I'm sure in India you'll have the same kind of cases. And we have all these cases now. So we are going to be making new law in the area of force majeure law. What is it that allows you to get out of an agreement or a contract? I'm now working on a case involving someone who canceled a conference and won't give the money back to the people who paid for the conference. I said, well, no, that's not right. So we have this in real estate law and across the board. So we need really post-pandemic legal reform internationally and domestically.
There's going to be a lot of change, and there's going to be a lot of scope for budding lawyers to be involved with international law. And let's hope that the changes for good and the better laws will help people overall. I'm going to quickly take this. Rhythm says, how can we as students contribute for betterment of humanity post-pandemic? Jadeji, could you quickly answer this one for Rhythm?
Sorry, before I answer, can I just, I had one message to, convey to the Indian student in India and in UK and facing a bit of a difficult time. And I wonder if anybody can resolve it because, as you know, that there is a 14 days quarantine when the Indian student comes to, the Delhi. But then there is another 7 days quarantine if they go to the different state. So it's a one. If it's a self-quarantine, it's a fine. Why is that these sort of there are two rules in one country where the student they're just wonder whether to live in UK or just to come to India and have face the 3 weeks the quarantine, which is I find it is very unusual. But anyway, that is the question somebody has to find out in the law of the things. Now coming back to how as a student you can help? Is it what you meant by COVID-19? Am I right or not?
Yes. During this time, the students want to know how do you feel they can be of help, and what's the best way for them to.
Well, best way to go forward is a look. We are first and foremost. We think we are human, and whatever you could do, because a student can play very, very important role in this COVID-19, because student can because first and foremost, their duty to make sure that the parents, the relation, elderly people is being taken care very well there, because some of the things they are not aware about it. So that is one thing they they start with it. Then they go to the community. Then they go to the district level, state level. Depends on their the ability, because
right.
If the student can't reach to this the reach to that point, it will be very, very difficult there. And today is the word we have for the highest number of the youngsters living and students are in India. India will rely upon the student, and the new life of the post COVID-19 is entirely, I would think, is the youngster.
The youth power is what is going to build our